Hey there, it's Carol Billing and I'm your instructor for Education 202. Here is the course calendar for the semester. I wanted to take a minute just to walk through it with you. Okay, so to begin, assignments are always due Mondays at 5 o'clock. So if you work on Mondays, then you need to make your own deadline Sunday at midnight instead. And the reason why I have Monday at 5 is so that if you have a problem at 4, it's more likely that I can assist you rather than 11 p.m. on a Sunday night. Okay, so given that, the first week of school, I want you to do an introduction discussion board. There is an introduction discussion board in both Education 201 and Education 202. Many of you are enrolled in both courses because they're co-requisites. However, I do have other students who are in 201 that are not in 202 and vice versa, and so that's why I have them in both. Some of you are in my face-to-face 201 and some of you are in my online 201. So you are more than welcome to paste the same introduction if you're in both courses, Education 201 and Education 202. But make sure that you do both of them because sometimes there's confusion. Students will do one in 201 and they'll forget to do it in 202. So I would say do that introduction discussion board in both blackboards at the same time if you're in both classes. Okay, also I want you to hop over to the wiki and give me an idea of what your expectations are for the course for this semester. That's really helpful for me to know what you expect out of the course. And then lastly, the first week, I want you to start thinking about a school for your observations. This school should be either a school you're specifically interested in teaching at. That would be my number one criteria. Number two would be that it's geographically comfortable, meaning you don't live in Nampa and you're trying to observe some school in North Boise, because that's kind of a long haul to get out there, unless that's where you want to teach. So that would be a reason to choose a school. You may choose a school where you work or you volunteer or you have a child attending. There are some parameters with that. So if you are a para, you can observe where you are a para, but it has to be hours you are not working. You have to be observing a certified K-12 teacher. So you can't be a sub or be a para and count those hours. I realize that you're teaching during that time, but this class is about observing a seasoned, hopefully, or a new teacher who happens to be very good, watching them and how they teach. So it's not about you teaching, it's about you observing. So that's one nuance to the class. Also, I will say you may not observe a class where you have a family member in the class. So your child, your niece, your nephew, your best friend's kid. I would not observe those classes, and in fact I will tell you no if you ask. And the reason why is that it won't be an authentic observation. I have worked in my kids' classes. You cannot take that parent hat off or that family member hat off and be objective. So I want you watching a class where you are not emotionally tied to any children going into the experience. And by the same token, I would prefer if you had a limited relationship with a teacher, definitely not a family member, not a best friend, that kind of thing. Use those, if you have teachers in your family, use those people for references. Ask them who you should watch because they know who the good teachers are. Ask your kid's teacher, if it's a good teacher, who would you recommend I watch in this school at this grade or that grade? You'll get a great recommendation that way. So that's how I would use those people, and I would also start creating a mentor kind of relationship with them if you feel like they can give you good advice, because certainly through this process of becoming a teacher and being a teacher, you're always looking for sounding boards. Okay, so those are the basic parameters around school. No family members, no BFFs, that kind of stuff. The second week and the third week, you're going to start getting your observations scheduled together. And you always want to contact the principal. If you know the teacher and you want to contact them first, that's great. But you want to contact the principal as well, either before or after the teacher, depending on your relationship with the teacher. And because the principal has a greater scope of the resources. And what I mean by that is, are there 5 other students observing in other classrooms? Because at some point the principal needs to say, okay, we have too many people observing, I can't take another person, because it's just too many people coming into the campus and that sort of thing. And I think we need to be really respectful of that, because the Treasure Valley is very impacted with student teachers and people observing, future teachers observing. For CWI, we place 60 to 80 people in Treasure Valley schools. And that's fantastic because it's a huge resource. It oftentimes, the CWI student becomes a great resource for the teacher. So it's a positive thing. However, I do want to be respectful of the requirements we place on the local K-12 classrooms, or what we're asking of them. So that's why I say always include the principal in the conversation, even if you have an extending relationship, if you have an established relationship with the teacher. Okay, so once you have your site set up, you're going to want to meet with the teacher and set your observation schedule for the semester. And I've outlined the number of hours I'd like for you to do in each time period. So these are each 2 weeks long. And so within the week 4 and week 5, you want to complete your first 6 hours. So this may be 2 days where you do 3 hours at a time, or it could be 1 day where you do 6 hours. It's completely up to you, but you do have to complete those hours during that time. Now, you may do more than 6 hours in those 2 weeks, but you may not count it for the hours 7 through 12. And I know you think, oh my gosh, why are you so structured? But it has to be this way, because what happens is that I have students who will do their entire 30 hours in the weeks 4 through 7. And I haven't even taught stuff in Education 201 that would enable them to look for things in the classroom. So we're going with a more structured framework for your observation hours this semester. So hours 1 through 6 must be done during this time here and documented on the time card within those dates for credit. And then you may do this journal. Now when you get down here and you're finishing 18 hours and you're going to write your use of technology, but you really saw technology being used over here in your hours 1 through 6, that's fine. You can always write your journal about anything you've seen earlier. But your observation hours need to be documented in this time frame. So I know you're spreading out your time. Okay. You're going to go through the semester and complete your hours. It's very important that you complete all 30 hours. You cannot pass Education 202 with less than 30 hours of observations documented on your time card. The time card has to have a total at the bottom that says 30 or more hours, and it has to be signed by your teacher. Okay, when you get all done with that, you'll have journals obviously while you're going, so you have a chance to reflect on what you're saying. You're going to do a wiki here where you ask your peers in the class a couple of questions about their field experience. What did they see? What did they learn? That kind of thing. And the reason why is that we don't have a place where we meet to talk about our experience, our field experiences. So this is what this last assignment does, is it enables you to share information about your observation experience. So we begin that process by creating a list of questions, things you would ask each other if we were in a room together. You will pick, I forgot off the top of my head, three or five questions. I think it's 3 questions, 3 peer questions, and answer them. And that answer will be in the form of this field experience summary assignment. And so you'll go over here to the wiki, pick the questions you want to answer, and then you'll create this assignment here. And you have a couple of options how to do that. You can videotape it, so you can have someone ask you the questions on on your iPhone and answer them, and then upload it to YouTube and then submit the link, and people can watch your video to hear about your field experience. You can write it out in a Word document, and you could also do a Prezi or a PowerPoint, both of which have to have narration. So you can't just put up a PowerPoint with slides. It has to be narrated as if you're talking, but you're giving us a visual to look at while you're talking. Okay, so you'll do a draft and get some feedback on that, and then post your final field experience summary assignment. After it's posted, you'll have the last 2 weeks, dead week, or the week before finals and then finals week, to watch 5 other students' field summary assignments. Either watch them or read them. And so you can get at least a feel for how 5 other people had their observations go. You'll submit your time cards, of course, to document that you did your hours, and do a draft of your thank you note. And once that draft is entered, you don't have to wait for me to grade it to send it. Go ahead and send those off. And that is it. The finals week is your time to watch at least 5 other field experience summary assignments. Okay, I think that's a very long-winded overview of the calendar. Feel free to send me an email if I've forgotten something or you have questions. Otherwise, I think we're off and running.